What's up guys, Seth here with another Friday Night Ties. Tonight we are tying up some sex dungeons and drinking some Blue Moon, so let's get into it. Alright guys, well let's get into it. Sex dungeon. This is a Kelly Galloup pattern. Articulated streamer. With a deer hair head and dumbbell eyes. I've had a pretty good amount of success with it in the last few years. Just about everything Kelly Galloup makes is streamer gold, so it's to be expected. Start off, I just put a mild thread base on there, and then first material is marabou for the tail. I like to tie it down and then take my thread up to the front, tie it down on the front, and then lash it down the entire way. Keeps a nice even body. Finally got myself another set of tying scissors. You can tell that your Dr. Slicks are wearing out when they go from this nice bright gold to kind of dingy silver, so good way of telling. Next up, I actually don't have it ready next to me. Next up is some flash for the tail. I usually do use two or three strands of red. I think I'm going to do 3 strands today. I like to take those strands and tie them into each side. Tie all 3 onto one and flip them over. Tie them into the other side. Then I'll collect all of them at once and cut them just a touch longer than the tail. That's how I like to do them. Next up, rib. I use a red wire. I like hints in my darker flies. I like having little hints of red, and so the red flash and the red rib going through the body. This fly is palmered with some schloppen, I think is how you say it. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's schloppen. We're going with purple, so it's going to be purple. Tie these in by the tip. All right, and this is one of the things that I kind of venture off from the original recipe on these is normally these call for a what is it called? Like a chenille body, but I just use dubbing. I'm not a huge fan of chenille just because it seems there aren't as many uses for it. I'd rather just have twice as many colors of dubbing than some dubbing and some chenilles when I can't use chenilles on any of the smaller flies that I tie. It's probably going to take at least a few applications of dubbing to get all the way to the front on this one. Kind of trying to get rid of this dubbing. It doesn't dub real well. Trying to burn through it a little bit. It's kind of it's a synthetic dub, which, I mean, usually it seems like synthetic dubs work pretty good for me, but this stuff, it's the emergence dubbing. It says trilobial antron. I don't know. I don't like it. Sorry, this is kind of the boring part. I think I'll probably fast forward from here. All right, thank God we're done with that part. From here, I throw a quick whip in because I'm going to use the rotary on my vise for the next couple steps. First is that schloppen. Got my wire wrapped in there. There we go. Not sure what just happened there. Kind of hold all those fibers back. Tie them in. Another whip. I'm going to use that rotary again to do up the wire rib. Most important thing is make sure you're going the opposite direction with the rib so that you're crossing that hackle as many times as possible. Do a little shimmy with that rib as you're going through so you're not tying down any of these fibers. I kind of bumped my vise there. I'm going to make sure you guys are still looking at me. Oh, we're still good there. Just about done with this rear portion of the fly now. Next we take another piece of that marabou. And I like, for length on this, they call this a wing, but I mean it's a streamer, so streamers don't have wings, but I like to make it just barely coming over that tail. Just like that. To cover up these butts, make it look all nice and uniform. Then hand whip finish. Some UV resin to give her some additional strength. Alrighty, up to the front section. This is gonna be pretty well a full-size sex dungeon. I tie these in all kinds of sizes. Probably my most common size I'll tie these in is like a size 8 hook in the back and a size 6 hook up front, and that's more of a micro to, or a mini to micro size sex dungeon. These are 1/0 hooks right here that I like to use for the flies that I'm going to be targeting some larger fish with. I use these for a lot of like bass fishing, as well as I'm going to be trying to target some pike this spring. And so these bigger hook gaps help with that, and then just a beefier hook in general. Alrighty, so first off, we're going to get some dumbbell eyes on this thing. I like to do it about 1 dumbbell eye length from the eye. Get a couple wraps on and flip them over to the bottom. This fly is going to ride hook size down. From the stuff that I've watched from Kelly Galloup's videos, he likes to do hook point down on a lot of his flies, just because if you look in the inside of a trout, specifically in their mouth, the top of their mouth is kind of slick. Not a whole lot of stuff going on the top of the mouth, versus the bottom of the mouth has the tongue and all sorts of different little grooves and stuff for a hook to catch into, so your hookup ratios are better, supposedly, with a hook point down fly versus a hook point up fly. On top of that, one of the reasons I feel like people do hook point up a lot is when they're worried about catching stuff on the bottom, which I don't know about you guys, but when I'm streamer fishing, just about the last thing I have to worry about is hitting bottom. Even when you're running sink tips and everything, the amount of time you spend dragging actual bottom is almost zero, it seems, even with these big heavy tungsten dumbbell eyes. So I don't worry too much about that. Alright, next up we're going to be tying in the articulation wire. I like leaving a tag so I can fold it over when we get to that point. Try and run this along the top as best you can. When you get to the bend, I like to go down the bend a little bit. Seems to help with the fly fouling up, aka the back hook getting wrapped around and getting tangled up in your line. I don't do beads on my articulation wire. I just go straight up with it. And now try to position that wire to keep that loop as vertical as possible. Some people like to suck up that loop real tight, and then you lose some of that free motion that this wire gives it, that the articulation is supposed to achieve. All right, when I get back to the front, I take that top wire, fold it around the dumbbell eye to the far side, if I can. I could have left myself a little bit more tag to hold on to. Tie it in. Go back up to the front. Grab that bottom one. Go around the dumbbell eye on the other side. And that pretty well locks everything in. That stuff's not coming off unless they're ripping the entire dumbbell eye off of this thing. Take your old Dr. Slicks so you're not messing up your new ones. Apparently these are not one to cut. There we go. And there you go, we have our back hook on there. And that's kind of the same process as that back hook for a little bit here. Take it to the back. Grab another bit of marabou. Poke yourself with that back hook. I've had some pretty good success with this fly. I think I already mentioned, I mostly fish it in the smaller mini and micro sizes. Mostly fish it in those mini and micro sizes. Most recently, I did a video, the last video I posted, I ended up having some success with this fly. I was fishing a freestone pre-runoff with a gold is not quite a micro, somewhere between a mini and a micro. And I end up getting a bunch of eats. It's a cutthroat trout river. There's some browns, there's some rainbows, and there's also occasionally a bull or two will get caught in this river, but I've never personally had that happen with me. Yeah, it's pre-runoff, so it's pre-spawn, and so those cutthroats were pre-fired up. And I've had pretty good success throwing streamers at them in the past, and so I was throwing some streamers and got a bunch of eats on this fly. Only ended up landing one of them. Sometimes hookup ratios on streamers just isn't the greatest. That's it's pretty common knowledge stuff, it seems. But yeah, I ended up hooking a bunch, stripping it, hooking a few, just swinging it, and the one I actually landed was off a swing. A little bit after that, I hooked a really nice fish, stripping it through a pocket. Unfortunately, that one popped off. But yeah, that was the last video I posted, was me fishing both this and a few stonefly patterns. All right, we're done with that. Back to using the rotary. This feather up to the front. Another quick whip. Hold everything in place. Then we'll run that rib through. Alrighty. One more piece of marabou. All right, one more thing with this thread before I change over to the big fly thread. That is a set of rubber legs. Rubber legs on a streamer sounds weird, but I'm not the designer of the fly. I'm just here tying them up. Take 4 purple rubber legs. Tie them into one side. Stretch them over onto the other side and tie them in over there. So this is going to be the final trim on them. Just shorten them up, make them a little bit more manageable. Alrighty. Some thread wraps to clean everything up. We'll bring this thread up to the front. Whip finish. Now I'll switch over to my big fly thread. Alrighty, got my thread switched over. Let's start it up here in front of my dumbbell eyes. This stuff can be a little bit slicker, this big fly thread, and so I like to get a pretty decent base on before I trim it. Alrighty, fly's been purple, so it's going to get purple hair on the head. Trimming out, try and get all those fuzzies out of your hair, and then straight into the stacker. Try to figure out a place to smack your stacker without making the camera flip out. Get the deer hair out of your mouth. I like to make sure my thread's right at the back of that. This usually takes a couple stackings of hair for me. I like to cinch it part way down. I'll take my thumb, kind of roll it all around, make sure it's distributed pretty evenly. Put my thumb on top or my finger, pull tight, flare. All right, it's gonna take a couple stackings of hair for that top. Get that second stacking of hair ready. I try and even those tips up with the other stack as best as I can. Alrighty. Now to secure things a little bit more, I'll go halfway, pull tight, a little bit further in half, pull tight. Alrighty. Now I'll flip it over. I like putting a little bit of hair on the bottom of the dumbbell eyes. Kind of gives it a more finished look, in my opinion. This hair doesn't need to be stacked, because for the most part it's all going to get trimmed off anyway. Pull that tight and flare it. Alright, so now we're at the front of the eyes. At this point we kind of go from keeping those stacks of hair up on the top to spinning the stacks of hair. So again, we're done using the stacker. Kind of go in, a couple loose wraps, and just spin that on there. Push that hair back as good as you can. This doesn't need to be an ultra dense head. The denser it is, the less those dumbbell eyes are going to work for you. So a lot of times it's best to leave them pretty soft and non-compact in there. Throw another bunch on. Couple loose wraps. Let her spin. Work your thread up to the front. And there we go. Fly looks kind of crazy at this point. So the next step, it's getting her tied off, which I'm struggling with, it seems. My gosh. I'm really struggling. There. That'll be good because I'm going to come in with resin anyway. Alright, to start out, I like to kind of push everything back, clean everything up around the eye. Now we're going to take our razor blade, we're going to bend it, we're going to come over the top and trim that hair back. I like to do little bits at a time because I don't want to cut into my collar, and I definitely don't want to cut into my rubber legs. I like to take my time with this process, so I'm probably going to fast forward here. There's my take at the Kelly Galloup Sex Dungeon. Hope you guys liked the video. Thanks for watching.